From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Hello. It's great to have you here. You have reached the Badass Counseling Show. I am your host, Sven Erlandson. Whether you are our friends to the north or our friends to the south, this show is a shout out to you. All of our friends preparing for winter up in Canada, from British Columbia through Saskatchewan, Alberta, Manitoba, and Quebec, and way over on the east in Newfoundland and so forth. We welcome you to our show. We love our Canadian followers. And also a shout out to all of our friends and loved ones down in the south who are either escaping or digging out from hurricane season in the U.S. South. Please know that the Badass Counseling Show and all of our followers and friends and supporters sending lots of love to you. I'm joined in studio by KC over in the booth, and Rob the Rocket next to me as per usual. Rob, how are you today?
I am very fine, thank you, Sven. Always glad to be right here with you, Kimosabi, and everybody else is in from all over, which makes us feel great.
It does indeed. Rob, I understand we have Leslie with us this evening. Tell us about Leslie, if you would.
I'd be happy to, Sven. Leslie wrote in and said to us, I feel empty and sad most days of my life. I try to be happy, but inside I am empty. I don't trust my choices, and I doubt myself all the time as well. I never feel like I am doing things right like others are. I have panic disorder, and I feel stunted due to it. I have missed out on so much because of my fears. On top of that, I have gained 200 pounds from age 20, battling with my physical looks and health since. I recently lost 60 pounds, though, and I'm very happy that I have. I just have a long journey with so many feelings. I hate myself for letting my body and life get like this. I'm married, have a 21-year-old daughter whom I know that I did too much for, but she's finally thriving at the moment. I overprotected her, giving emotionally to spare her pain and mine. My father died in 2019, and I am heartbroken still. I think about death obsessively. I had thyroid cancer, and although I am still alive, I am scared of death or maybe life.
Leslie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Let's go ahead and dive in. You mentioned you hate yourself, and you've put on a lot of weight, and you're really struggling and heartbroken over your father's death. I want to drill down, just out of curiosity. You mentioned you hate yourself for letting your body and life get like this. If you were to put a percentage on it, what percent, if you were to be totally honest, do you hate yourself presently?
When it's in regards to what I did to my body?
Overall,
100%.
just overall in life, if you were to put an overall statistic on it, what percent do you overall hate yourself?
Maybe 60%.
60%. And you had just before that said, with regard to my body, it's 100%. So that says that there are other things in your life that you like about yourself, because if you hated the rest of your life 100% as well, then your total number would be 100%. So that says there are other things in your life that are good, that are bringing down the sense of self-hatred that's so high from your feelings of your body and so forth. What's the best thing in your life presently, just out of curiosity? What is it that makes your sense of self-hate be less?
My daughter.
I see.
Watching my daughter. She's doing well now. Yeah.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, in your life, if you're at 60% of total for self-hatred, at what age of your life was your self-hatred highest?
Mid-20s. 27 was probably one of the worst years. I remember I have a writing. I used to always journal, and I remember saying, I'm 27 and I want to die.
And what percent do you think you hated yourself when you were in your 20s, 27, et cetera?
Oh, it's 100%.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, what would you say was the earliest in your life you ever experienced any self-hatred?
Probably 4 or 5.
Okay. And if you were to put a percentage on that, what percent do you think you hated yourself at 4 or 5 years old?
I don't know if I knew it then, but I don't know, maybe 30%.
Fair enough. Okay. And so why do you think at 27 you hated yourself 100%? What was it at that point that made it so high?
I was not happy. I was gaining weight so much. I was very heavy. I mean, I got heavier, but I was so heavy and I just couldn't stop.
But
I
what
could
was
not
going on
change.
inside of you? What did you,
Oh,
was it just that you hated your body, or what was going on inside of you that was at the root of, because I got to believe all that weight that you were putting on was because of the shit going on inside of you. Is that reasonable to say?
that's true. Yeah.
And so what was the
fe-
biggest thing going on inside of you that was at the root of all the self-hatred?
I mean, a common factor was I just didn't feel like I was good enough. I was smart enough. I was better than or just as good as my siblings. I just didn't feel good who I was.
Okay. Perhaps the most interesting, at least for me, you were hating yourself as early as, and whether you knew it at the time, looking back, you're realizing I hated myself as early as 4 or 5 years old. Why then? I mean, you got to admit, that's really fucking early. Why 4 or 5 years old? Why do you think that was?
I had a good father, but he was violent. When I was little, he was violent, which was weird. But as I got older, he was had less rage. But I remember not feeling safe. There was a lot of things going on, and I didn't feel safe. And I think that I just felt like I was bad. Not that I didn't think I caused his anger, but I felt like I was bad and just not good enough. I that's all I could think of right now.
Fair enough. And you said
Yeah.
you had siblings. Were your siblings older, younger, both? What?
Older. I'm the youngest.
Youngest of how many? Just out of curiosity.
Three.
Youngest of 3. And what messages do you recall receiving either from parents or siblings in your home growing up? What were the messages or that you got about yourself? And maybe it wasn't direct, like, gee, you're a dummy. But maybe it was indirect, like a sideways glance, or maybe it was, you can never keep up, Leslie. Why can't you ever keep up? Or whatever it might be. What were just randomly some of the phrases or messages, or maybe, like I said, it was never said, and it was just a feeling you had that you were getting. What would you say?
Well, yeah. I mean, the feelings I had was I was not pretty enough. I wasn't pretty as they might have been.
They
just feeling
being who?
the siblings I have.
And
The
how
siblings.
was it conveyed to you that you weren't pretty or weren't pretty enough?
Well, it would be they would say, they look like me, but you look like your father. You look like so and so. And it was, when you're little, you don't want to look like a man. And so I just felt very separate. And there were things said when I was young, things, being
Like
called
what?
stupid, like being called stupid, a moron, like the name calling, a lot
Okay.
of verbal stuff.
And who
Yeah.
would call you moron and stupid?
Father, my father.
It's interesting when I asked you about the messages you got, oh, that I wasn't pretty enough. They look like me, but you look like your dad. That means that the person who said that would have had to have been your mom.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
obviously she's referring to your siblings. Your siblings,
Yes.
look like me, but you look like him. So it's not your dad saying it. It's not your sibling saying it. Your mom used to say it. And what was the tone in which it was said, or what do you think she was trying to tell you?
Personally, I've
Yes.
had a lot of therapy in my life. And
Yeah.
I think that it was to make herself feel better, maybe because they were pretty. I mean, I was okay too.
Sure, I'm sure you
But
were.
in her eyes, I mean, they look like her, therefore she's pretty too. I think that's what I think it was. I really do.
And so to make herself look pretty by putting you down.
Yeah.
I see. And
Very insensitive.
insensitive. Your mom was very insensitive.
Yeah, still is.
I
Yeah.
see. And what, just out of curiosity, so we know that dad was obviously rude and cruel by calling you stupid and a moron, and mom was rude and cruel by making you feel not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Safe to say?
Yes.
Any other messages that you recall getting in your childhood?
Well, it was also talk about weight. It was, the messages that I shouldn't have certain things because I'm going to get fat, or you shouldn't have that. You're a little chubby or whatever it might be. So there was all that very criticizing, very food policing messages that I got.
And what do you
Mhm.
think the effect is then on the child of getting messages that you're dumb, you're fat, and you're not pretty? What's the effect as you see it on a 4-year-old, on an 8-year-old, on a 12-year-old?
Self-hatred.
Right. Right. Which then raises a question. What percent do you hate your mom? Well, wait, stop. You
Yeah.
just giggled. I'm
Yeah.
curious. What was the giggle?
Because
What was the giggle? What were you feeling in that moment that I asked you that question and you just sort of burped out a little giggle? Where did that come from?
because it's not going to sound right. Because anyway, it's not going to sound right because I don't hate her today,
Okay.
but
That's
I've
fair.
hated her in my life. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
And just out of curiosity, you say, I've hated her in my life, so we'll put that at 0%. But in your life, you have hated her. And so when did you hate your mom?
Well, I was a teenager when I was young.
And what would you say was the percent you hated your mom as a teenager?
Probably 90%.
Okay. And how long do you think that lasted, just out of curiosity?
Maybe I don't know, 6 years. I'm just saying the number.
Just
I don't
spitballing.
know.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
And what about dad? What percent do you hate your dad? I understand he's dead, but I'm just curious. What percent do you hate your dad?
Hard to answer. I don't know. I hated the way he coped and handled things when I was a kid, but I never hated him. I feel hurt by things, but I never hated him.
Okay. Then or now, it sounds like.
Then or now, yeah.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, if dad was this violent person, and was mom a violent person?
No.
Okay. So dad was a violent person and you didn't hate him. Mom wasn't a violent person, but you did hate her. Help me understand.
Yeah, right? The criticizing that she did and how critical she is still hurt me more mentally than my father's. I hate name calling in my life.
But
his name,
wait a minute. Dad criticized you too. He called you stupid and a
He did.
moron. What are you, a moron, girl? Okay.
Yeah.
So why does he get a free pass? What is it that why does dad get a free pass? And why did you and do you allow for mom hatred?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm curious. Play with it. Just spitball something. You can change your mind if you want.
Why do I allow? I don't know. I really don't know. My father, I guess, my mother had more impact on me because she just did. Those things hurt me inside more. And I really cared about my looks. I felt like my self-worth was in my looks. And although I looked good in high school and young until I started to gain weight, it was a struggle. It was a struggle for me to feel good about myself.
Well, of course.
So I think I guess the answer is because what she did really wounded me. My father's name calling, yeah, I didn't feel good either from that, but her stuff was rougher. It was hard.
Interesting. And why? And you say it was rougher, and the reason it was rougher was why?
Because it just stopped me from self-love or being who I could have been, because it really made me feel like a piece of crap.
And isn't it fascinating? And you said you hated yourself as early as 4 or 5 years old and as much as roughly 30%. And that would then increase into your teens and then sort of hit its peak in your mid to late 20s. And yet I ask you if you hate your mom today and you say, nah,
Yeah.
hated her as a teen, 5, 6 years roughly, maybe, whatever. And, but otherwise before that, no. And since that, no. Isn't it fascinating? So then the very person that taught you to hate yourself, you took the lesson and you have hated yourself literally your entire life.
Yeah.
And yet no hatred for her. Why do you think you stopped hating your mom?
She's older.
What does that have to do with anything?
I know.
So wait a minute. So does that mean she's older, so I feel bad for her?
Yeah.
So you're going to basically give her a pass because she's older. You're gonna let her off the hook, but you don't let yourself off the hook.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
And just out of curiosity, is it possible? Well, I'm not even going to ask it as is it possible. I'm going to put it this way. What is it you're still wanting from your mom?
Her to say, "You look great." It's a sickness in my own head that now I want to look good instead of I don't even know, is that I feel like love is an acceptance of what you look like almost with her.
Interesting.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. And if mom said, "You look great," then what? Then what happens? Then what would you feel? Then what happens in your life? Then what?
Yeah, I think, well, top of my mind, I think that I've made it. I'm here. I'm loved. She loves me. She's proud of me.
And so until you hear her say, "You look great," you basically don't believe that you are loved and that you're loved, okay?
Right.
And so then if you knew that mom loved you, if you knew that you are loved, then what? Then what happens inside of you or in your life? What happens in your life? You've been waiting, really. You've been striving and waiting your whole life for that one thing. See, a wound was created back there. She created this gaping hole inside of you of self-loathing that says, "I am ugly." Or at the or at least, "I ain't pretty." She created this hole, per your own words. She's the one that taught me to hate myself, all right? She was the one that focused on my looks, and by her definition, looks determine worth, basically, lovability. All right, so she created this hole, and only she has the power to fill it. And I've been waiting my whole life for her to fill this hole. Just out of curiosity, Leslie, how old are you?
55 soon.
You had to think about that one. All right. Well, we're going to call you 54 because you still get to enjoy being 54.
Yeah.
So you're
I
54.
wanted to say 25.
You wanted to say 25, don't we all?
Yeah, I do.
Rob, how badly do you want to say 25?
Very.
Okay. So back to it then. So if mom said you look great, then you'd know you made it and you're loved and she's proud. If you finally knew you were loved, it's almost as if that hole inside finally gets filled. Then what? Then what becomes your life? What do you feel? What happens in your life?
Actually, quite shockingly, I feel angry because why now? Does that make any sense either?
That
I have
makes
no
total
idea.
sense.
Yeah.
Total sense. Why now? So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're simultaneously wanting her to confirm your worth, and you're angry that she's doing it at all. And motherfucker, you're doing it now? Now? I needed that 50 years ago, Mom. You fucking bitch. Now you have the brass. I mean, thank you. And it feels great, but you have the brass balls to do that now?
Right.
Okay. So there's anger there. So you're angry at your mom. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Backtracking. Go ahead. You want to say something?
I remember 19 years old was the year. I just remember the major depression and eating more. And I remember eating in front of her and wanting to piss her off because she couldn't control me, basically.
Right.
With the food.
Yep.
And I was still thin then, but like I said, she hated every second that I could get fat. And I did.
And okay. And that was going to be one of my questions. Because very often, if we feel controlled or manipulated or valued or devalued by someone, if and only if you do this thing over here, and if you get that message that you're only loved if you do that thing over there, eventually, oftentimes, that person, the kid, says, "You know what? Fuck you. Fuck you. You want me to do that? You know what? I'm going to do the opposite. I'm so angry at you for only seeing worth in me when I do what you want me to do. Because my life is all about you. You know what? I'm just going to do the opposite. So I have to ask, Leslie, is it possible that you did this whole thing, this whole 200 pounds, as a massive middle finger, fuck you to your mom?
I want to say, I hope not. I don't know. Maybe I'm in denial still because that's a part of me. But
I don't know.
I definitely in the beginning, and then it became just a coping mechanism because I was so depressed.
Right. And is it possible also, and there could be many factors going on, is it possible also that you might have given up on trying? I'm sick of trying. I'm mad at you for not just loving me the way I am. And I'm just so sick of trying. And you know what? At this point, food's the only thing that makes me feel good. And you know what? I'm so tired. I'm exhausted, Mom. I've been trying so hard to win your love my whole life, and nothing works. I'm tired. Is it possible any of those things work their way into the conversation with yourself?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've been tired. I've tried everything, and it's, a lot of self-worth issues. So there's an emptiness kind of quite everywhere. I don't have the best relationships with people that I deal with every day.
Sure.
And it's an empty feeling. So
fair enough.
It's yeah. All
right. We're going to come right back to this right after this short break.
I've read so many self-help books, and I always get something good out of them. But when I dove into There's a Hole in My Love Cup, well, it changed me. I cannot recommend this book highly enough. My copy is very dog-eared and highlighted. Thanks, Sven, for writing it. I love There's a Hole in My Love Cup, and believe you will also. Order your copy at badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform, and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
And we are back with Leslie. Leslie, I want to continue on the thread that we were on. I asked you what you still want from your mom. You said you want to hear her say you look great. And then I asked you, then what? You said, well, then I'd know I made it and I'm loved and she's proud. And I said, then what? You said, then I'd be angry because why now? Okay. So I want to backtrack one step and I would say, so if you knew you were loved and your anger came out as well, but you knew you were loved, then what? Then what happens in your life next? Or then what do you feel? What happens if you knew you were finally loved and you got your worth confirmed by your mother? Then what?
I don't think anything. Nothing will change.
Come on. You have waited your entire fucking life for this and you're telling me nothing would change? Now, maybe that's true, but I just find that a little hard to believe. It's just like people saying, I can't wait till I win the lottery. I can't wait till I win the lottery. I can't wait till I win the lottery. Oh, really? What are you going to do when you win the lottery? Probably nothing. I'll go back to work. It's like, fuck you. Bullshit. Okay, so play with it though. Maybe it is nothing, but play with it. What do you think would be different inside of you at the very least? Or how do you think you would go about living your life differently if you knew you were finally loved by your own mother?
I would feel filled. I'd feel filled. I'd feel like I have a purpose to be here. There's a reason to be here.
And just out of curiosity, help me understand that. Why would you feel like you have a purpose? So you feel filled and you have a purpose. What would the purpose be? Or why all of a sudden would you have a purpose? Because you hadn't talked about purpose. You talked about feeling loved. It's an interesting word choice, and I'm really curious. So help me understand. Why would you feel like you had a purpose?
Like I have a reason to be here. Like I have a place to be here in this world and be loved and be just alive is all I could think of.
And so you're saying that without your mother confirming your worth, you have no purpose, no reason, no place, no reason to be alive.
Sad, huh?
Well, it's true. I mean, for you, that is your truth. Isn't it fascinating that this one person has such infinite power over you that your life only has worth and you only have a purpose and you only have a reason to be alive if she confirms your worth, which after 54 years, clearly she has no intention of doing. Isn't it fascinating? And if you had a purpose and a reason and a place and sort of a reason to be alive and take up space and feel justified being here, then what would you feel inside?
It's hard to even imagine. I'd feel good about myself. I'd feel good.
Give me a feeling word. Because sad can feel good, mad can feel good, peace can feel good, anger can feel good. So good doesn't quite pinpoint. What do you think you'd most feel inside? What would it feel like to know that you finally have a purpose, a reason, a place, that you're filled?
I guess happy. I'd feel happy. I'd feel proud of myself. That's not a feeling word.
No, pride is a feeling word, and happy is a feeling word. You did great.
Happy is,
You did good. And so then, isn't it fascinating that it's almost like you're not allowed to feel happy and proud of yourself until she grants that to you? Now we're getting into the world of the power of parental imprinting. That she so convinced you 50 years ago, 52, 53, or perhaps right from birth, 54 years ago, so convinced you of your lack of worth that you've spent 54 years basically waiting to start life, probably trying to start life, but you couldn't. It's almost like you couldn't even get up to the starting line. I don't know if you've ever watched marathons, but like the New York Marathon or the Boston Marathon, there's just like blocks and blocks and blocks of runners waiting to start. And they start them in groups and so forth. But you may wait 5, 10, 15 minutes before you ever get to the starting line to start your race.
Yeah.
Right. Half hour, whatever. And it's almost like you've been waiting 54 years to even get to the starting line. And the only person, what you are fundamentally saying is the only person that has the power to let you cross, not the finish line, but the starting line, is this person who has no intention of letting you cross the starting line of life. What does that feel like? What do you think? What do you feel when I say that?
I feel really sad. Sad.
What's the saddest part?
I didn't mention this, but when I was born, she told me, and she told me this very often until I told her never say it again. She told me when I was born, she was upset I was a girl because I was, she didn't want another girl. And she said, and the doctor said, "Oh, she's cute. I'll take her." And my mother said, "No, it's okay." Some like casual conversation they had, but she told me that so often, like she was happy to tell me that she didn't want me when she heard I was a girl. And could that be something underneath all this?
That is no, that is absolutely, it's not. Could that be something? You've just pinpointed it. You've just told us what the answer to the whole equation is. Since literally, just out of curiosity, so if you're 54, you're going to be 55, that means you were likely born in 69 or 70, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Okay. And likelihood, I don't think parents knew gender of children back those days, probably too early for that. So they would have found out the day you were born, you came out, doctor slaps you on the butt to get your crying, get the lungs going. They look at your privates and it's a girl. Oh, it's great. It's a girl. So quite literally, if I'm hearing you correctly, quite literally from literally the day you were born, you were unwanted. And your mother made sure you never forgot it. She wanted you to know what a fucking disappointment you were. All because of the private parts that the good Lord gave you.
Yeah.
All because your mother's a fucking child.
Yes.
Your mother's a fucking... Who the fuck does that? Would you ever... Let me ask you, Leslie. Would you ever do that to your own child?
Never. Never. Never.
Right.
Never.
And so you have been disliked, possibly even hated your entire life. And so much so that you were taught to hate yourself by age 4 or 5. And I asked you, what percent did you hate yourself at age 4 or 5? And you said, well, I don't really know, but looking back, probably 30%, which means if it's 30% at 4, it didn't just happen overnight. Oh, shit, wake up this morning, fuck, hate myself. No, it had likely already been building.
Right.
It would have started at 2% or 5%. Then it becomes 8% and 14%, 23%, and then it's 33 and 40%.
Yeah.
You had been conditioned to hate yourself. Your mother, if she's already, you said, since I was born, she's been telling me that she didn't want me. Well, you wouldn't have remembered it when you were born, which simply means that when you were young enough to cognate, hear, and comprehend what was being said, she was already telling you that you weren't wanted. So, which means you had already been getting it before that.
Yeah.
You'd been getting that message your whole life that you were unwanted, and she went out of her way to not just remind you that you are wanted, but to make you feel unwanted, to hurt you, because fundamentally, you ruined her life. By being a girl, you ruined her dreams for her life. And it was such a fucking disappointment to her. You were such a disappointment to her that she was going to hurt you for the rest of your life. And I believe you said that she hasn't stopped to this day.
Very critical.
And just out of curiosity, and it's okay that you do, but I have to ask, what is the reason you have your mother in your life?
Well, I love her. Sometimes we have good times. My other siblings think that I'm like her favorite now, which is another story for probably another time.
Do you think you're her favorite now?
No. I just think that I'm the easier one.
And why do you think you are the easier one? Why do you choose to be the easier one?
I don't fight.
Why don't you fight, and why don't you argue?
It's a good question.
Is it possible you're afraid? Is that what you were about to say?
I have major fears. I'm afraid of hurting people. I'm afraid of hurting her, hurting anyone.
Anyone. But we're talking about the one person whose approval you want. Is it possible the reason you are eating her shit and playing nice and all of this is because you so desperately want her to say those magic words of, you look great, and I love you, and you have worth, and you are my daughter, and I am proud, and I love you, that you are doing everything in your power to make her love you. Plus, on top of it, you're terrified of her. Because with her words, you said it yourself, it's her criticizing that had an impact that would hurt me the most. Her criticizing is what hurt me the most. So you simultaneously fear her criticizing you again, because if she criticizes you again, she's reminding you of what she's been saying the whole time. You suck. I'm so sick of you. Why did you have to come out of my vagina? I didn't want that. I wanted a boy. Yeah, you're terrified of her, and you are simultaneously still wanting her approval. Your mom, to use a phrase we use in sports, your mom owns you. She owns you.
That's gross to me.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And I don't say that as a put down to you. I don't mean that as a put down to you. But if I put myself in your shoes, I can totally see why you feel that way.
Yeah.
What's the grossest part for you about considering that this woman owns me, and that I'm not even allowing myself to get to the starting line of life because I'm waiting for this woman who was fucking cruel to you. She was fucking cruel. I'm sorry, as an outsider, your mom was a fucking cruel bitch. Who the fuck does that to a child? What the fuck is that?
Right.
You fucking imbecile of a mother. I don't care if you fed and clothed your child. You want to know why? Because there are a lot of families in this world that would kill to feed and clothe a child, and that would nurture beautiful little Leslie when she was a baby and when she was 4, and would have thought that Leslie was the most beautiful, sweetest, most creative, playful girl in the entire world, which you were, by the way. You were a 4-year-old girl. What's not to love about a 4-year-old girl or an 8-year-old girl? What's not to love?
Right.
There would have been so many families in the world that would have loved to shower you with the love that you deserved. My Lord.
Yeah.
What's the grossest part for you about the whole equation and about the fact that she owns you to this day?
How could any mother be like that? How could anyone tell their child that, or constantly criticizing, especially about their looks or anything? Just the messages that I got were so negative. And that's gross. That's gross. I don't want to be a part of it.
Amen.
I don't.
Amen.
I never would do that to my child, ever.
Exactly.
Right.
And is the reason that you would never do it to your child? I know this is going to sound like a ridiculously dumb question, but I'm an idiot, so indulge me. So what is the reason that you would never do that to your child?
It's cruel. I love her. I love her unconditionally.
Okay.
It doesn't matter about anything.
Right. It's cruel. So then you are fundamentally, by raising your child differently, radically differently from how your mother raised you, you are fundamentally acknowledging that how your mother raised you was wrong.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, what percent was your mom a good parent and what percent was your mom a bad parent?
Oh, boy. Well, after this conversation, I would say what percent bad? 85.
Okay, and that means 15 on the good percent. Then I got to ask the question. You said, well, after this conversation, I got to ask. If I had asked you this question at the beginning of our conversation, what percent would you have said?
I would have said 60 great, 40 not so great.
60, and you didn't even say good. You said great. Okay,
Yeah.
60% great. And 40% not so great. Not even bad. You wouldn't have even said bad. You would have said just not so great. And just out of curiosity, why do you think you would have said 60 great? Woohoo! Why do you think you would have said that? Why do you think your brain believed that, or what have you? Why do you think?
I don't. Because she's there when I call her, and she calls me, and I'm there for her, and we talk. We do,
And I have to ask, okay, so she, to some degree, she's there and we talk. Okay, that's nice. It's still sort of in the realm of bare minimums, but now we're sort of looking back at the past and what she did back then. And the damage was done back then. That's when the foundation of the house gets laid.
Yeah.
You should have been crossing that starting line, really beginning to cross that starting line around 11, 12, 13 years old as you begin to move out into the world and build relationships with friendships. And that's when you start to begin to trust your own voice a bit more. And that's when the child stumbles, you pick them up and say, hey, it's all right. You make good decisions. That's all right. That one didn't go through. Keep learning to trust yourself more and more and more. And then they build up that confidence. But no, she was holding you back by tearing you down way back then and long before. So at the beginning of this session, if I'd asked you, you would have said she was 60% a great mom. And now you're saying she was 15% a good mom and 85% a bad mom. What fundamentally is the worst part about your mother's parenting? What was the absolute worst part? If you were to put it in one sentence or less.
She was self-serving.
Self-serving. As opposed to what?
Giving and loving.
Giving and loving. And just out of curiosity as well, your father, you said, was violent. In what manners was he violent towards you? We know he was verbally abusive by calling you stupid and a moron. Was he physically abusive as well?
Yeah, he would hit. But, of course, there was a reason for it, as they would justify.
Just like in your brain, is there ever a justification in your brain?
No,
a justification for hitting a child? No, of course not. Okay, and so then, was mom physically violent towards you?
No.
Okay, so you have a father who's physically violent, and was he only physically violent towards you, or was he physically violent towards your siblings as well?
Yeah, all of us.
Okay, and was he physically violent towards her?
No.
Okay.
No.
And so then I have to ask, if your dad is physically violent towards children, so your dad gets off on hitting children. Okay. regardless of what he says his fucking justification was, just thought, did mom justify his actions as well?
No, she would appear to me as a very weak person at that point. She would cry or say, don't do that. Don't do that. But that's all she did.
That's all she
And
did. And
that was
so
it.
by saying that's all she did, that implies that you believe she could have done more.
Yeah.
Okay. What could a parent do if the other parent, and it's not always the male that's the violent one, but it is in this case, so we'll run with it. What could a mother do if the father is being violent? What could a mother do?
No, set boundaries. Go get yourself therapy. Don't come back until you're, got help.
Or even get
Don't
the
touch
kids
my
out of there.
kids.
Right. Don't
Yeah,
touch my
of
kids.
course.
Go
Yeah,
to a shelter,
yeah.
which existed
Right.
back in the 70s. I was a
Yeah.
child of the 70s. Those existed.
Right.
Churches and synagogues and so forth. They had shelters and safe spaces and so forth, and they knew of them. And so your mother didn't protect you.
Right.
So,
Because they accepted it. It was that time,
well, the truth is there were.
Well, I don't think that, but
Okay.
That's
That
what
was
they
their
think.
thinking.
Yeah,
right.
that was
Hey,
their
it's
thinking.
okay. It's the
You're
70s.
lucky.
Fuck it. We drive drunk. We hit children. Fuck it. It's all going to be gone in about 15 years. So let's enjoy the child abuse now. This is awesome. Right. No, it's fucking
Yeah, it's
ridiculous because the
terrible.
truth
Yeah.
is there were a whole lot of homes and a whole lot of moms and dads in the cases where the roles were reversed. There were a whole lot of homes where it wasn't tolerated, where the moms got the kids the hell out of there.
yeah.
It's not, everybody acts like, oh, it was the 70s or, oh, it was the 60s and hey, anything. No, bullshit. Domestic violence shelters wouldn't have existed
Right.
if everyone was just going along with it. The mere fact that they existed, the mere fact that it was even part of common conversation says that there were mothers and fathers getting their children to safety.
Right.
And your mother chose not to. And the most telling part is that he wasn't hitting her.
No.
How convenient for her. Hey,
And
I'm
they
safe.
said-
I'm safe. Why would I stand in front of the hail of bullets? I'll let the peckerhead kids take it and I'm good.
Yeah.
It was fascinating the word you chose a minute ago when I asked you, if you were to sort of sum up your mother, how would you sum her up? And you said self-serving. We see that here then with the violence, don't we? It serves her to be quiet. It doesn't serve her to protect her kids. And so it could be argued, in addition to your mom's greatest crime being self-serving, your mom's greatest crime is that she didn't protect her kids.
Yeah.
And there are a whole lot of people that would argue that the number one job, the very first job above all else, is to protect your kids, isn't it?
Yep. Yep.
Did you protect your daughter, Leslie?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Of course you did. Of course you did. And that actually, as long as we've sort of looped your daughter into the conversation, you said, you made the comment in your write-up that you sent in to my producers. You said, I know that I did too much for my daughter. Why did you do too much? Why did you do so much? Let's take out the judgment aspect of it and say, oh, it was too much. But why did you do so much for your daughter? What do you think the reason is?
I know that I wanted to give her what I didn't get.
And
Number
because
one.
if I gave her what I didn't get, then what?
I'd be a good mother and she'd be a happy kid.
And why? Okay. And what do you think the drive was? And that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. What do you think the drive was to be a good mother? It's a good drive. Don't get me wrong. But why do you think you were so motivated to the point where you're giving, in your words, too much to your daughter? Why do you think the drive to be a good mother was so powerful in you?
Well, I owed that to her.
You did. Fair.
I brought her here,
Fair.
and that's my job. And I was giving her what I would have wanted. I know that.
I love that. I love that. It's great.
I know.
Is it possible that there was also some in there of, and maybe there wasn't. So this is just a straight question. Was it that you were going to prove yourself better than your mom? Might there have been any of that? And maybe there wasn't. It's okay to say no.
You mean prove that I'm
a better mom than you are. Fuck you, bitch.
Oh, well, I thought of it once or twice. I'm going to show her that I'm a good mother.
Okay.
I don't know if it's to compete with her because that's not.
I'm going to show her that I'm a good. Might it have been that if she sees I'm a good mother, that she might then approve of me?
Maybe, yeah.
Because if I'm going to show somebody something, I don't know what you were like when you were in kindergarten, but when I went show and tell, if I show something, then people like it, or then Mrs.
They like you.
Tinglestead would say, "Oh, good job, Sven." Mrs. Tinglestead was proud of me. That was my kindergarten teacher. Okay, right. But if I'm showing, I'm wanting to be seen.
Yes.
You are wanting your mother to see it, which means you are wanting something from mother. And could it be it's looping back to still, we know it's still today, but wanting, her approval, right?
Approval.
And just out of curiosity, is it possible, and this is going to require you to dig deep on this one, and it may be just total bunk, so just say no, Sven, that's garbage. Is it possible that for a person who had never been loved by her father, by her mother, or by her siblings, that's how it surely felt, the way you're describing it growing up, really didn't feel a lot of love in the home. That's what I'm hearing, at least, to the point where it's filling in with hatred. If there ain't love, it's going to fill with something, okay? Is it possible that if I love this child, then I'll finally have somebody who will love me?
I know it's where you're getting at.
That's all I was getting at. Literally, I'm not capable of anything deeper than that. Is it possible that you were using the child to get your own love needs met?
I'm going to disagree.
Fair.
No,
I was asking a question. It wasn't even a statement. It was just a question.
Okay. Yeah. No, I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel like that.
Okay.
I just wanted to, I wanted to be good at being her mom. She deserved it.
For sure. And I applaud you for it. I love you for it. That's great. And so what we're seeing then in your parenting your child to a large degree is the breaking of a generational curse. Because a whole lot of people say, well, I was shit on. I'm going to shit on you. Oh, kid, don't complain about how bad you have it. Fuck you. I had it far worse. Okay. And that's wonderful. And so we're back to this notion that your mother didn't protect you and your mother was self-serving. Okay. And so then let me ask you, which is worse for you? And there's no right or wrong answer. Everyone's different. That she was self-serving and didn't protect you and she taught you to hate yourself? And that she basically hated you since the day you were born because you had the wrong genitalia. Is that the worst crime? Or is the worst crime that she's never atoned for it since? She's never apologized. She's never done anything to make me feel like I had value to her. Is it that she's never acknowledged it and apologized? Or is it the shit that she did to begin with? Which is worse for you? And there's no right or wrong answer, Leslie.
It's pretty much everything.
I'm sure it is, but for you, which is worse?
Yeah, her never apologizing or never validating me in any way.
Right.
Other than negative.
Right. Which is an invalidation. That is definitely not a validation. Right.
Right, exactly.
And so then what you are fundamentally confronted with then at this stage of your life, Leslie, is I want to ask you, was your mother right?
No, she's not right.
Okay. And so then when she taught you that you didn't have worth and that you were unlovable and that you were ugly and that you weren't worth protecting, was she right or was she wrong?
Wrong.
Leslie, my that's absolutely right. She was wrong. You're absolutely right. My sister-in-law, who I love her very much, and she has been a neonatal nurse for like 100 years. She'll kill me for saying that, but many, many decades. Not many. Okay, long time. Anyway, I've asked her before. I said, are there any babies that come out? She works with, she's in the neonatal unit, right? The littlest of the little and the ones that have, too many fingers or not enough toes or their heart is born outside their body. Are there any bad babies? And she looks at me and says, Sven, you're an idiot. I said, I know, but it's an honest question. No, Dumbo. No, they're beautiful. And she loves that work so much because she falls in love with these babies.
Yeah, right.
Have you ever in your entire life, I don't know what you do for a living, but have you've been around kids, you have a child of your own, she had friends and blah, blah, blah. You've been around kids your whole life and families and so forth. Have you ever met in your life, and maybe you have, and maybe you've met hundreds of them, I don't know. Have you ever met a 4-year-old girl that was ugly?
No.
Oh, come on. Never?
No, never.
How about a 4-year-old boy that's just, oh my God, he's dog shit. This kid is fucking ugly.
Never.
Okay. So then what you're fundamentally saying then is that you were cute.
Yeah.
You were pretty. And you giggled a bit there and you smiled a bit. What happened inside of you? What did you feel or think when I said that? You had to have been cute because you literally just said,
cute.
Of course you were.
Cute.
Of course you were. Of course you were.
Yeah.
It's fucking asinine that you were told otherwise. It was the big lie of your life. It was never true to begin with. There are no ugly 5-year-olds. There are no ugly 10-year-olds. They're children. Children are fantastic. They're different shapes and different sizes, different heights, different weights, different eyes, different ears, different everything. But each is beautiful in their own way.
Yeah.
And you know it.
Yeah,
come on.
Definitely.
So they're telling you at 2, 3, 5, 9 years old, you're ugly and you're fat and you're this and you're that. It's bullshit. It was a fucking lie to begin with. You've been taught a lie that got hammered and hammered and hammered and hammered into you to the point where by the time you're in your mid to late 20s, you want to fucking kill yourself. You hate yourself so much. But it was never true to begin with.
Yeah.
It's been a lie the whole time. You have been taught to believe a lie.
Right.
So this whole notion of you needing her approval, you're needing what you're fundamentally asking. You didn't just even say, I want her approval. You were saying you want her to say, you look great. You didn't want her to say, gee, I'm proud of you, or that came later. You didn't want her to say, I love you, or you're my daughter in whom I am well pleased. That came later. You were wanting, when I asked you what do you still want, you want her to say, you look great. In other words, you want her to expose herself for the liar that she was. She's not going to do that.
No.
You're wanting her to basically sort of man up and admit that it was just bullshit from the beginning. It was your own pathetic rage, woman. And you took it out on a child, and children are beautiful, and you destroyed a child for decades. But Leslie, it was never true to begin with.
Yeah, right.
It was never true to begin with. So let me ask you then, what is the prettiest part about you? What do you love the most about your looks? Be honest.
It's hard.
Yeah, but wait a minute.
What?
That's mom's conditioning that says it's hard. And I want, it's like, you know what a walnut, you get the nut. Well, why does the tree produce a nut? Because that nut falls to the ground and then it gets like eaten by an animal or something and then pooped out somewhere else. But that nut then falls into the earth, and the pressure of the earth and the water and everything cracks that nut open, because what's inside the nut is, inside the shell is the fruit. And that shoots a root down and it shoots a shoot up. And it starts to grow a new, walnut tree or what have you. So inside this lie, the nut, the shell is the lie. And you're still believing it when you say, oh, it's hard. I don't doubt that it's hard. That shell is hard, but inside there is the fruit of your authentic self. There's still that little child that somewhere in her burns this eternal flame. That little child believed she was good and believed she was beautiful. And so I go back to the question, I don't want the nut to speak. I want the fruit inside of it to speak. What's the most beautiful part about you? I think you're beautiful. What do you think is the most beautiful part about you?
I think the person that I am.
Fair. I want to know specifically about your looks, because that is the lie we're talking about is about specifically about your looks. What is part of your looks that you actually really like? My
eyes.
I was going to say you have very pretty eyes and very full lips. You have a nice smile. Lovely.
Thank you.
But do you understand the power that you were taught to hate your looks at a very young age? It's fucking cruel.
Oh, it really is.
Leslie, we have reached the end of our show, and I'm going to ask you to just stick around for a minute afterwards. I have one or two more questions for you when we return. Is that okay?
Yes, sure, of course.
And I want to thank you for being on the show. For all of you listening in on Leslie's story, what parts do you identify with? What parts in what Leslie has said inspire you or help you see yourself differently? Rob, what are your thoughts on Leslie's story?
Well, one thing certainly caught my attention. My mom, as I can best recall, was never disappointed in me. But there was one time I heard her say how much she wanted a girl. She didn't say she wanted a girl instead of me, but she said how much she wanted a girl. By this time, too late to have any more kids. I was maybe 12 or 13. And I was in the room. I'm not sure she realized I had heard it. I shot her a look. I mean, a really deadly look. I mean, blue steel. All right. And she never said anything like that again. But I always remember it. And it ain't great.
Well, I was going to say, you wouldn't have shot a look unless it hurt.
Of course it did.
Right.
And I was able to dismiss it mostly because it was a one-off.
Understood.
Yeah. But still.
But let me ask you, I mean, as long as we're having the conversation, you raised that. Let me ask you one more question, Rob, and that is, what was she saying to you? What hurt the most about what she said?
Well, it made me feel like I disappointed her. Of course.
Right.
Yeah. She wanted to buy girl clothes. She wanted to buy dollies. She didn't get to do any of that. She had 2 boys.
Wow.
Too bad, but that's the way it goes.
Does that resonate, Leslie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Leslie, and we hope you'll stick around. And to all of our listeners listening in from around the world, especially Canada and in the southern United States, sending out love from the Badass Counseling Show. Have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by 2-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.